Hello, brothers and sisters. I am out in the cold right now, so forgive the dark um, imagery. You know, it's funny because in these churches where they do the stage performances, they literally think that the lighting in the room is what God was talking about when they say, darkness and light. But obviously, darkness refers to a doctrine, a way of thinking, a way of speaking, a way of doing things. It's not talking about the light in the room. So if it's dark or the lighting's not perfect, um, it will um, it will interfere with the stage performance. Now the chanting things happening, like you go and you see like a orchestra and each part is actually impromptu and it's it's all perfect, and that's like when you watch TV and you'll have one scene and they're like, oh, thanks for having us over for dinner, and then the scene changes and the lighting is perfect and maybe they're singing and it's like ha 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 ha, but they're all smiling and each moment and each movement is choreographed. That is actually darkness. So if the lighting's not perfect and say like a video like this one, that's not what the scripture is referring to. I mean, it could be pitch black. Maybe you can't even see me. And that's not what it's referring to when it talks about darkness. Darkness is a spiritual state, a state of corrupt morality, a state of corrupt agendas and corrupt prerogatives and the very state of your being is corrupt. Come here, Nemo. Come back. So, when it comes to the theater, they know that in order to keep people enchanted and to keep people fascinated, each part of the stage has to be carefully manipulated and carefully maintained. So that's why whenever we speak of the corruption of the word choice that King James forced in the third edict of the 15 instructions that he gave to Cambridge and Oxford, was that you will maintain the old ecclesiastical terms, and it is by that way that the word church was foisted surreptitiously, which means that they put it there erroneously on purpose in order to deceive. They chose that word church. Now, if you do the etymology of the word church, you'll find that it's related to Circe, the woman of Revelation, who gives the drink of the cup. And even though it doesn't mention Circe, that's the imagery is as clear as can be, that she gives a drink of the abominations of her cup. And one of the corrupt fruits mentioned in Galatians chapter 5 is pharmakia. And in the Greek mythologies, Circe was the pharmakia expert, and that's where the word church is related to that word. And and the other pharmakia expert was her sister, Medea, media, Medea, media. So you have church and media, and etymologically you can see, are even just by, even though media might not be directly connected to the Grecian witch media, um, the picture is undeniable that church and media are the two most potent forms of pharmakia, of pharmacy around, that of controlling psychology and being able to manipulate people's opinions. And so if you relate that to the way that governments are able, which government just means rich families. The way that rich families are able to have power is through controlling public opinion. And also, the undeniable way of control is the bludgeon, beating someone over the head with a hammer or threatening them with prison. So we have pharmacia, which is the kind of witchcraft that's imposed on people's mind, but not through any kind of thing like you would see on a movie where they're casting this literal force from their hands. It's actually has to do with advertising, arrangements, the way that things are arranged and put into these carefully impromptu succession. Means they're carefully rehearsed, they're carefully planned. They will even plan these things around calendar events, or like the solar calendar or the lunar calendar, and they plan their events on particular days, which is called the observing of times. So they know that when people come into a temple for a 30-minute time, everything is carefully planned in a very well thought out succession. Now, in opposition to that is that God has a plan for his people, and it's not according to men's plans as they arrange it, how they would like to arrange it for themselves inside of these institutions. So, they might say trunk or treat, or Easter, or Christmas party, and then they'll give you on the sign, and they have a sign out there, and this is the pharmakia, this is real witchcraft, and on that sign it has some pithy saying, right? Some kind of shiny saying, like the kinds that they use on Facebook, and they put their little quaint and witty sayings on there, and they use their little backgrounds and everything to make it shiny. Well, that's what they do in advertising. That's how you invoke a reaction from the mob. So if you actually do a research into the science of the mob, you'll understand that that through calculus and actually knowing statistics, they can actually predict how people will behave out of a 1,000 people. So if you have a group of 100 people, or if you have a group of 10 people, a group of 100 people, a group of 1,000 people, there are exact statistics that will show you how particular people will react to a particular emotion, or a particular logic, or a particular thing that is shared. So you have in public speaking, you might have heard this, they have appeal to logic, appeal to ethnics, and appeal to ethos, I believe it is. It's been a little while since I've studied that. So you have the logic, the ethics, and the passions, and you make appeals to that, and they know, because of so much science and so much research, especially like in advertising, they do a lot of that research. They know how people will react to colors, how they will react to information, how they'll react to inflection on the voice, and everything is rehearsed carefully. So then they'll talk real slow and sad, and everything will be so sad, and they'll just get real sad looking. But then as they begin to get heated up and they get fired up and they start speaking like this and very powerful, and then they pass around the offering plates, right? So everything is just carefully rehearsed and carefully planned. Excuse me one moment. Hey, Nemo! My dog's out here, so I gotta make sure he's not trying to run off. Come here, Nemo! So, anyways, what you begin to realize, and I spoke about this in my other video, and I called it the hologram, is that the pyramid structure works off of bureaucracy and giving people titles. So You have the bureaucracies of all of the paperwork and everything, but then you also have like the certificates and one moment, I'm going to talk to y'all still. So you have like giving people degrees and certificates, but I have to find my dog. Nemo, get over here on this porch. Come here. He's there. He knows he's being bad. He knows he's not supposed to run off. So anyways, in these pyramid schemes, they compartmentalize everything by systems of paperwork and systems of degrees and certificates. So that's what they call red tape when they say miles and miles of red tape. So, and when you live in a society where you have all these billions of people, or in America we have like 300 million, right? You have, like, if you're taking away their means of production through school or church or how they run these businesses with these with like the barons. A baron means a lord, and it was and they have these people who are set over you to control you as a whether it's an indentured servant or a slave or a wage slave, and they have to set in bureaucracies like pay. Now, you as a human being, like, let's say you're a man and you're working for $7 an hour, or maybe you're a female working as a waitress for like $2.50 an hour because they can give you tips. So they have that kind of bureaucracy kind of in your way to where they don't have to pay you as much and you're working for tips, right? How can you tell someone how much an hour of their time is worth? Think about that. Let me make sure my little chat is on. I hope it's showing up tonight. Interesting. Hey, Lloyd, how's it going? So, I just saw your comment. I'm glad that I made sure that was turned on tonight. I don't know why. I thought it turned on automatically, so I guess I got to turn it on every time. So they'll tell you your time is only worth, is only worth $7 an hour because you're not born to noble blood, right? Because you'll have someone else who works for $40 an hour or $20 an hour. So what you begin to find in this life, and I know this sounds completely bizarre, but I'm sure if you've been around for a little while, you'll know this. But if you're younger, you might not recognize this yet. And I don't know the ages of everyone watching, but that's why I want to preface what I'm about to say like this, is that when you're older, you begin to realize that marriages are arranged. Like, big business people who own these businesses, or like big government people, they still do arranged marriages. That's why they're able to keep their corporate interests well guarded from the greater public. And that's why you're working for like $2.50 maybe if you're a waitress, or maybe $7 if you're a wage slave. And I mean, the person making $2.50, she's a wage slave too, right? Or he's a wage slave, but they can get tips, right? That's the catch-22. So the way that they keep you boxed out is that, they don't plan on giving you anything. And along with that is that you're not going to be married into their family, because they're trying to marry based on wealth and based on ensuring that the money is kept within the capitalist. Now, when we live in a place that says that it's capitalism, remember that ism, because that's important. The ism means philosophy of. So whenever you tack that ism on, it basically means you can make it mean whatever you want to. So you have if you're making $7 an hour working at a restaurant, you are not a capitalist. And even if you own the restaurant, you're probably not a capitalist. See, a capitalist is someone who has capital, and capital has to do with the investments and the holding companies and having stock in buildings and investments into different businesses or different corporations and institutions. We are not, that's why, like, during the Occupy Wall Street, they would say we are the 99%. Well, it's much smaller than that. I mean, it's more like 0.1% of people who actually own capital. Those people are capitalists. So um, Gerald Cortez said, even getting car insurance is using credit score. So if yours is lower, they can charge you more. Just wicked, greedy people. Yes, exactly. So let me read that one more time. Even getting car insurance is using credit score. So if yours is lower, they can charge you more. Just wicked, greedy people. Oh, I mean, great point. I wasn't necessarily aware of that fact, but I mean, it's absurd, right? It's like we said, there's another form of bureaucracy. So you go to a bank to get your first loan, and they're like, "Well, you don't have good credit. You're only 19, so we're going to give you $1,000 loan." Oh boy, $1,000? Oh, I'm going to try not to spend that all in one place, right? Well, I mean, and that's it. I mean, whenever you are in entry level, y'all remember this being 16 or 17, you go and you get a job. So, or if you live in a low income area, you pay more for insurance. Wow. Well, had to renew lately, so ran into this. Yeah, so what happens is you go to an entry level type thing, right? And you've never even heard of a credit score or anything like that. So it's easy to take advantage of people. Student loans are an unethical scam, and the government gives banks the license to practice that particular form of lawlessness. Yeah, absolutely. So, just kind of factoring into what y'all are saying, it has to do again with what we were talking about bureaucracies. So I'm just going to lean this up a little more so I can see y'all's comments better. So you have all of the bureaucracies in place, and it's multifaceted. So let's say if there was 300 bureaucracies in place, we could probably only talk about or hold in mind two or three. So one of those bureaucracies in the new racism, or the new prejudice today, is based off of education, right? You're not educated, so be my slave, right? You're only gonna make $2 working for me, boy, because you're not educated, or girl, you're not educated. That's the new okay prejudice. See, these problems just don't go away. They just change and they augment. So like the synagogue problem and the pagan temple problem today is actually called church, So these different church systems we were discussing, they have these bureaucracies that have overran them. And it says that when Jesus went to the temples, when he went to the synagogues, he cast out devils. Now the root of the word daemon, where we get our word demon, is Tao, and it means to distribute fortunes. So whether you're talking Lloyd Tucker, whether you're talking about the what you were saying about student loans, or you, Gerald, I hope I see it right, Gerald Cortez, you're talking about the car insurance, or you, Gypsy Lane, talking about living in a low income area. Those are all just the little forms of bureaucracies in place to try to keep the hologram up, to make people feel like they're doing something wrong. Like, oh man, I can only get $1,000 loan. That makes me a bad person. Or they're only going to cover me for this much insurance. I'm doing something wrong. I don't deserve it. I don't deserve it, right? And I'm exaggerating how we react to it, but to show you a point. is that they want you to feel like you're worthless. You're doing something wrong. Wait your turn. Your turn's coming, right? And they wave it over you like the carrot on the stick, right? They have you chasing false hope and false dreams. And then you realize as you grow up, you're like, oh, you're the assistant manager and you're the boss's son? And then like you go to the next place and you say, oh, you got fired? The assistant manager fired you? And you're like, and they're like, yeah, it was the boss's son. And you're like, whoa, someone just told me that the place I work at, the assistant manager is the boss's son. And then you go to like 10 different places and you begin to realize like, oh, all of the boss's sons are inheriting these businesses. Wow, how dumb I've been my whole life that I thought we could work our way up by honesty, right? Like by honest means, we thought we could get treated fairly or get a good job. How stupid were we? How utterly naive we were. We thought that by being honest is how people made it up in this world. Like we thought that's how someone became a politician, right? Was like being honest. We thought that like getting a promotion in this world was by being honest. I mean, I'm laughing right now, but it's like pretty much to keep from crying, man. You know, it's like, it's so sad. You're like, that this world is so corrupt that each institution, each business, each government, family, in each one of these layers is all by dishonest means. That's how you make it to the top. You lie, you cheat, you steal, and that's how they climb the ladder. So Lloyd Tucker said, so the institutional church operates just like the world. Absolutely. People become politicians by being honest. Yeah, rolling on the floor laughing, right? So, yeah, absolutely. So the churches, what do? Whenever you build a church, you're going to have to go to the world and you're going to have to go and then you're going to have to figure out the building. You know, you're going to have to go. There's a process. Like, first you have to find a plot of land where they're going to even let you build it. And they're going to have to survey it. They're going to have to check it out. And you're going to people who don't believe in God. You know, most of the people who are going to be building it don't believe in God at all. So you have all of these unholy hands involved first with the state, because you're going to have to get a piece of property where they're going to let you build the church. And then the people who are building it, they don't believe in God. So they're just throwing it together. And then you're going to also have all of the people involved in the bureaucracies. The 501(c) tax write-off. The ones who are going to be, you know, doing taxes at the end of the year. You're going to have to hire accountants. And you think, where are you going to find all these people who believe in God? I mean, go down your road, go around and start talking to people about Jesus. I mean, where are you finding these people who even believe in God? Where are they? They're coming to your house to fellowship with you because you're a brother or a sister. They love you. You know, they want to spend time with you. They want to listen to what you have to say and sit with you over a cup of coffee because they love God and they love you because you love God. The two greatest commandments: love the Lord your God with all your heart and all your soul and all your mind and all your strength, and love your brother as yourself. But oh, no, they're recruiting, right? They're recruiting you back into the institution. If you died today, would you go to heaven or hell? And, you know, I'm not allowed to answer that. But if you come back to my church with me this Sunday, my pastor, he'll box you in a corner with this gang of cronies that they have down at this local building, and they'll box you in there. So Gerald Cortez says, I don't want credit anyway. The Bible tells us not to get into usury, but sucks they use all these things to hold us down. Heard Google is trying to bring China's credit score system over here. I hope. So the things that are happening And like with the let me see, um the scripture says the borrower is slave to the lender, right? So and it says that we shouldn't use usury, which is charging interest on something that's been borrowed. Whenever you charge interest on something that's been borrowed, that's called usury. So getting back at what I was saying earlier is, so Jesus was saying to throw the devils out of the synagogues, the distributors of fortunes, these bureaucracies, these levels of hierarchy and everything, just to intentionally hold people out, to disenfranchise them, to dehumanize them, to demoralize them. Come here, Nemo. Come here, boy. Stay here. He keeps wanting to run off. So, also, along with the fact that Jesus cast the devils out of the synagogues, these tyrants and oppressors and these ones who are using, trying to get money and power out of different demographics. Isn't that what the synagogues were? They're just like churches controlling different demographics. And so Jesus went and cast the devils out of them, the distributors of fortunes, the accountants, the bureaucracies, the people who thought that they were better than everyone else because they had degrees and were smarter than everyone, right? So he also did that to the temple. Remember? Jesus made a whip and drove out the cattle and the money changers and threw over their tables. That's the same thing as casting devils out of the synagogues, throwing out the money changers, turning these places into dens of thieves, and dens of thieves and a house of merchandise, an emporium. And Peter warned that they will make merchandise out of you, and that word is emporium. And we call people human resources who have been made merchandise out of. And Peter warns of this. Jesus threw those systems out of the synagogues and out of the temple, and he said, it is written, my Father's house shall be called a house of prayer, bowing to God, kissing God's hand, to kiss the hand. Proskuneo is the word worship, and it means to kiss the hand. And it actually means to kiss the hand, but the idea of kune comes from dog, proskuneo. So to lean forward like a dog and lick the hand of a master, to kiss the hand, like you might have seen before. And different things that happen with the Pope is they'll actually kiss his hand or kiss his ring, right? But we don't kiss a person's ring. We don't kiss people's hands and bow before them. We bow before God, the Creator, Yahweh, the self-existent God. And in Revelations, remember, John bowed to the angel, and the angel said, see that you don't do this. I'm like you. I have the testimony of Jesus Christ. For Jesus Christ. Nemo, get back here. Get over here. And to kiss the hand, or to... Sorry, my dog's running off. Nemo! You're about to get in trouble, boy. Get over here. He knows better than that. He's chasing cats. But, so, and he's not minding me either. 1 minute, please. Nemo! Sorry. Come here. Come here, right now. I don't like to be mean with him, but sometimes you gotta use the mean sounding voice to get them to obey. So, yeah, so they throw the money changers. So we're supposed to throw the money changers out of the system, and that's the thing, is how are you going to do that? You're not going to really be able to, because what do? The same thing they did to Jesus. The religious people, like the Pharisees, Sadducees, and scribes, will call the cops, and then they go to Herod and Pontius Pilate and have you arrested. Why? Because they're not doing anything godly. They know they're not. They may have stolen the nomenclature. They may have taken the words and they juggle those around and use proof texts, and they read into the scriptures and they take away from the scriptures, and that's called gloss and embellishments. Define those words. They're very important. Gloss and embellishments. And let me see the comments real quick. Okay. For some reason I thought someone else had commented. So what they do is they are after one thing. Or actually, I have a few things here. So the money is what's used to, or I have to say it in reverse for it to really make sense, and then you can imagine how it works the other way. So you have an institution, whether it's a church, whether it's a school, whether it's a business, whether it's a college, whether it's the rich family's government buildings, and they set it out like the sun. They set these buildings out like the sun. But just as Mercury can't be seen because of the brightness of the sun, so too is that these buildings are set forward so that the glow will drown out all of the private special interest groups who are the ones actually benefiting from these institutions. So what they do is they have traditions, and they use those traditions and the flywheel of habit and routine to get people locked into the habit and to lock people into their institutions which they've created and get them into a routine, so they'll be enslaved by our very nature of habit and routine. That's what enslaves you. And when you start breaking out of habits and breaking out of traditions and breaking out of routines, you'll begin to see clearly. You'll be able to see outside of the way they've tried to control us, right? So what happens is that as you have money now, and so you've created this idol and this idolatry and these temples of Baal, where they're the Kuriakon. They say that word church comes from Kuriakon, which isn't true. Kuriokon means the Lord's house, so Curio means Lord. Church has nothing to do with that. Church comes from the idea of performances, stage performances, circles, and just these different ideas like that. So Kuriakon means the Lord's house. And whenever someone invites you to their church, they say, "Oh, my pastor's name is John MacArthur. Please come to his church." So John MacArthur is the Lord of that house. Or R.C. Sproul, come see R.C. Sproul and come to my church. R.C. Sproul is the Lord of that house. And these are the Baalim, the heroes, the hero worship. Apotheosis, what a great man, and they look at him adoringly, and they're fascinated and enchanted by him. "Oh, John MacArthur, R.C. Sproul, we love thee, thou art so great." And they never talk about Jesus. They never invite you to fellowship with them or to come see them because they love Jesus, right? So it's incredible that all this has been hidden. This has all been hidden from them. They don't even realize what they're doing. They worship these heroes and these apotheosized men, and they don't even know what they're doing. And you start saying, "Hey, I worship Jesus. You want to fellowship around Jesus?" And they're like, I mean, they just go crazy. They're just like, their jaw drops at how ridiculous that sounds. You're like, yeah, I believe in Jesus, and I would really like to fellowship with you. Would you come to my house one day? And my wife would probably be happy to cook us dinner. And we could even do a potluck if you'd like to bring something. Bring some potato salad, some macaroni or something, and we'll have a potluck and we'll have a fellowship in Jesus, because we believe in Jesus. You believe in Jesus. Let's fellowship for real. That would be extraordinary. And I mean, they're at that point, they're going to be like you have to worship the Lord through their institutions. Yeah, that's what they think, right? Isn't that incredible? And this is what happened in Genesis 11. God had said in Genesis chapter 1, be fruitful, multiply, replenish the earth. But they said, no, we're going to stop and we're going to build a city. So we're not scattered in all the earth. So God said to go into the world, be fruitful, multiply. But they said, no, we're going to stop and build cities and build city states. And that's how it becomes their head, right? You see what I'm saying? Y'all? It becomes their head. They allow these institutions to replace Jesus. It becomes their head. And it's a visible head. Just like in Colossians 2, in A.T. Robertson's word pictures, he says that the word not isn't there when it says worshiping angels treading into things which they have not seen. It actually says they worship what they do see. He says the word not shouldn't be there. And that makes sense, doesn't it? Because they worship these men that they see, the angels, the messengers. They're worshiping the invisible forces behind these institutions by these Baal, like you said, Lloyd, about you have to worship the Lord through their institutions because they believe that these men are the mediators. And by those very things in the descriptions in Revelation given to Satan, that he is a Peros Dracon, a fiery, fascinating serpent, which is actually what red dragon means. Red dragon is Dracon and Peros, mediators. Yes, yeah. They think that there are still, or they think that there are mediators between God and man. These people, it's sinister, it's crazy, it's insane. Like you're reading the New Testament, and you're just like, none of that's here, none of that's here. But you know, I always say that. I'm sorry, it is there because it warns us of people like Diotrephes. Diotrephes loved to have the preeminence over the church, the proteo. He wanted the preeminence, but in proto, you've heard of a prototype. It means the first type. Well, the scripture says that Jesus is the preeminent, the protos. But Diotrephes wanted the preeminence, the proteo, which is from proto. He wanted to be the first, the chief. So he's usurping as an antichrist. Anti makes it sound like it means against, but it does mean against, because if you want to be God, you are the ultimate against God, but you're against him because you're trying to sit on his throne, showing yourself to be God, to be the one as though you're God. Isn't that extraordinary? And that's what happens in all of these Baalim. They create their false gods. Baalim is plural for Baal. Acts 8:9, but there was a certain man called Simon, which before time in the same city used sorcery and bewitched the people of Samaria, giving out that himself was some great one, to whom they all gave heed, from the least to the greatest, saying, this man is the great power of God. Yes. Amen. Wow, I haven't read that in a while. Thank you for sharing that. And there's another one about Herod. Remember when Jesus warned of the leaven of Herod? If one of y'all could go to Revelations, if you could for me, Lloyd Tucker, if you could pull up the verse in Revelations where it says, the light of the candle shall be seen no more at all of thee, for by the nations, I think it's around like verse 20. It's on down a little ways. It's in Revelations 18. And if you could post that one, I would like to use that side by side with what you just said about sorcery, because that's what they do. This is what people don't realize about sorceries, pharmakia, church and media, or Circe and media, right? And the borrowing the Grecian idiom is that these people are bewitched by all of this advertising, these little pamphlets they get in the mail, say, and they have these new contemporary and modernized buildings like U-Turn or Uptown, or all these are Upward, and these newer high tech, low drag buildings that they're creating with these very catchy phrases. They've departed from the traditional sense, and they've gone into more modernized things. So Revelations 18:23, and the light of a candle shall shine no more at all in thee, and the voice of the bridegroom and of the bride shall be heard no more at all in thee, for thy merchants were the great men of the earth, for by thy sorceries were all nations deceived. And we can see that connection now when you read Acts 8 and 9, that these are the same great ones, the same ones who have the power are the ones with the money, the ones with the status quo, the popular ones, the mighty men of renown. From Genesis chapter 6. That's the Nephilim. That's the sons of God marrying the daughters of men, because they arrange their marriages so they can have worldly power. You're not going to marry Donald Trump's daughter or son. You're not going to marry Bill Clinton's daughter or son. They don't want you. You're not in their league. You're not a plutocrat. You're not in a part of the plutocracy. You're not a part of the aristocracy. You're not an aristocrat. You're not a part of the people who control bureaucracy. The holding companies, the capitalists, control the bureaucracies, the top of the pyramid. They don't produce anything, but they threaten you with prison. They threaten you with... Okay, they threaten you with death. And they control public opinion through churches and through media. So and the merchants go all the way back to Canaan. If you look on Blue Letter Bible and you look up Canaan under one of Noah's sons, one of the meanings of his name is a merchant. So the Canaanites, all of the ites that they were driving out in the book of Judges and in the book of Joshua and all of these different places, were the merchants. They were selling on the Sabbath. Remember, they were all selling on the Sabbath and being disobedient. And Nehemiah, he threw them out. Get out of here. 1 second. I know they're saying we're going to sell on the Sabbath anyways. We don't care what you think. And Nehemiah's out there like, I will lay hands on you if you don't get out of the city. You are not selling things on the Sabbath to make God destroy us again and destroy our temple again. I think the Amish had it right. TV brainwash people. They call... Oh, sorry. 1 second. They call it television programming for a reason. Yeah. Also talking about Revelations TV could even be the image of the beast. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot to it about how we program our lives, right? And how whether we're following God, and like whether we have the mark of him on our forehead and our hands, like it says in Deuteronomy 6, verse 8. But I have to go. My wife has work tomorrow. I love you guys. Thank y'all for tuning in. And to be continued. Sorry to end a bit abruptly, but we have to go. Work and the kids have priority right now. So I'll catch y'all later. Bye.